Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wellness Universe Mental Health Awareness Event 2025. Wellness for All programs. Thank you for joining us today for the Mental Health Awareness 2025 event, Wellbeing for All. This is the final session of the day, the power of EFT, releasing trauma and stress, restoring balance. I am here with my co-host, Bonnnie Sheldon, and our intention for today's session is to open people to the gift of EFT. This mind-body modality presents a powerful opportunity to tap into emotions and physical well-being to facilitate overall good health. My name is Carolyn McGee, and I am the founder of Sacred Haven Living, a community where you learn to heal using life's experiences. I thrive on helping women break patterns to understand the relationship to themselves, others, money, and spirit. As the decision queen, I guide you to trust your intuition to make empowered decisions without second guessing to take inspired action. With 20 plus years in corporate high tech and 15 plus years of entrepreneurship, I know firsthand the importance of living from a blend of my masculine and feminine energies to take authentic, purposeful leadership actions. I'm the lead author of the #1 best-selling book, Inspired Living, Superpowers for Health, Love, and Business. I am also a popular host and sought-after speaker and blogger. So these Wellness for All programs are free and supported by you. Your generous donation will support a nationally recognized mental health organization and the wellness universe to continue to offer our programs to those who need for free. The link is in the chat, and it is https://bit.ly/wellbeing for all 2025. That's all one word at the end. Thank you so much. After the session, a pop-up will ask you for your ranking and review. We appreciate you taking a moment to add your rating and review. Mental health is the foundation of our overall well-being, yet for too long, mental health challenges have been hidden from public view. At this Mental Health Awareness 2025 event, we recognize that mental well-being is inseparable from how we move, breathe, think, and connect with the world. A holistic approach challenges us to look beyond our symptoms and diagnoses to embrace physical, emotional, environmental, and mental factors using the various practices for optimum health. And now I would like to introduce Bonnnie Sheldon.
Hello, I am Bonnnie Sheldon, and I am an EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, master trainer, where I very much enjoy helping other coaches and therapists add that modality to their toolkit and help people start a new career. In my own life as a coach, I work with people who are overcoming deep challenges, often associated with midlife. Women who are facing empty nests, broken relationships, menopause. And across the board, I'm a health coach and I work with health. One of the things I'll be discussing is the areas that EFT has taken us into, and one of my favorite is a new area, meta-consciousness, where we use EFT, marrying it to German New Medicine, and we look at the psychological basis for illness and the disease process, which is fascinating indeed. Over the course of my life, I started in movement and dance and moved quickly to somatics and dance therapy, and then decided I wanted to have a more corporate experience, and I worked as a group director at the world's largest ad agency, bringing Advil over the counter, then desiring to work with other people, not just the corporate life. I became an Episcopalian minister and served at Trinity Cathedral in Miami for 12 years. Due to health issues, I decided to look for some out-of-the-box solutions and In a workshop with systemic sclerosis, paralyzed in a wheelchair, I discovered EFT and the potential for transformative healing. And that was over a decade ago, nearly 15 years, and a lot of determination and work and dedicated coaches brought me to this point. But it's because of that experience, although I have exposure to a lot of wonderful modalities, that I'm really devoted to EFT and to sharing it in the world. And that's something that's brought us here today. We thought that one of the best ways to start talking about EFT is to actually experience it. So Carolyn is going to introduce us to EFT with an exercise. It's our tool, Tap and Breathe, that you can use at any time in your life for some relief.
Thank you so much, Bonnnie. So we are going to just take very conscious breaths for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm just going to let my intuition be my guide on how long it takes us to go through this process. And you can just follow along with me. There's not going to be any words for this particular segment. It's just being conscious of the changes in your body and how your energy drops down. So let's just collectively take in 3 deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and releasing from your mouth. So in for 1. And 3. And now we're just going to consciously breathe in the manner that feels right for you as we tap through these meridian points. From this moment, just notice what shifts you felt in your energy. Maybe you feel like you need to move your body a little bit and release anything that's been stored up. This is something that you can do at any point in time. I noticed my own body starting to breathe in and hold on one position and breathe out completely at the next position. Really curious on what comments people have. Leah has said lots of yawning. Yes. Anybody else experience something, maybe their breath changing or their body relaxing a little bit during that process? Anna said, feeling more relaxed and aware. That's beautiful. And I can see Jackie is typing. I'm going to wait for her response before we move on. With Jackie and now Jeanette are going to be adding here. Jackie says, I was relaxing until I couldn't reach under my arms because I'm obese. Well, Jackie, feel free to always modify the things. You can do closer to the side. You can completely skip that point if it makes you feel better. One of the beauties with EFT, and Bonnnie is going to be going through some history and some details with this, is that how it works best for your energy. And Jeanette says, it felt great to feel the energy move through my body. And Irene says, I think that'd be great. And just, we're going to go with that. Oh, Irene is adding something. A lot more relaxed for sure. Perfect. That is awesome. Love to hear that. So I'm going to turn this over back to Bonnnie. She is going to give us what is EFT and some history and context about that. And I'm sure a little bit of science too. So Bonnnie, take us away. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be doing more tapping and more experiential tapping. But before we do into that, what is EFT and where does it come from and what's it all about? So emotional freedom techniques, what we call EFT or tapping, is commonly known as tapping, is a powerful self-help methodology that combines acupuncture and psychology, the principles behind them both, bringing mind and body together. Tapping on meridian points while verbalizing emotions calms the nervous system and helps to rewire responses to whatever issue is presented, whether for daily stress release or pain or weight loss. EFT is often referred to as the people's tool because we empower individuals to take their own well-being into their hands. By working with a skilled practitioner, we can take it even deeper and unwrap layers of trauma that have never before been able to be resolved. So where did EFT come from? EFT was founded by Gary Craig in the 90s, and it was based in the understanding that emotions are connected to the acupuncture meridians, which was discovered by a man named Roger Callahan, who was a psychologist and developed something called thought field therapy, which is the basis of EFT. He had the ideas, but it was amazingly complex with a logarithm that few people could understand. So Gary Craig took that genius and applied his own genius and developed a more complex, easy to understand system so that it would be available for more people. And he originally conceived of this as something that would be almost a peer counseling technique where one person would share it with another. And that's one reason why EFT has never been copyrighted or patented. And we have a wide variety of views about EFT. Unlike a therapy like EMDR, was licensed only for therapists, EFT can be used on a regular basis for regular people. And then when we go deeper and unravel deeper issues, the more complex issues, that's where we look for a more experienced, trained practitioner. So the concept that EFT is based on the principles behind acupuncture refers us back to traditional Chinese medicine. And the history going back thousands of years that we have energy lines running through our bodies. So this is essentially energy medicine. We're talking about energy and vibration. And the notion that when there's a disruption in that meridian, it causes a disruption in our emotions and in our physicality. So when we tap into those, whether we're tapping or pressing, when we find those acupressure points, we're able to have a dialogue with that energy flow and reroute it in a positive way. So as EFT gained popularity, research followed through, and we now know that by many measures that EFT does in fact work in many situations. We can tap globally. It's a general thought, or like an onion. That's kind of a cliche, an onion, but there are many layers down until we're working with a skilled practitioner and we're doing inner child work, we're doing shadow work, we're unwrapping trauma. But today we're looking at this as a self-help technique, basically. And yes, anyone can go deeper and reach out to us or any qualified practitioner, but this is now a self-help technique for managing stress and everyday problems. So what is it? How do we do that? We're going to be tapping, actually physically tapping on areas on our hands, as you saw in our introductory demo, on our hands, our face, and our upper body. Some very interesting new research just came out that if you do the same words or the same thought, but just tap somewhere else on your body, it doesn't work. We now have controlled studies that, yes, we have to tap into those acupressure meridian points to have efficacy. So that's what's very interesting to many of us who thought, well, what if you just tap at the back of your head? Now that can be helpful for a lot of reasons, but not for actually doing EFT. So how do we do this? We start with an issue. And I'm going to take, for example, weight loss. And we say, that is my issue. I'd like to lose weight. I'm not able to. And we say, well, do you have an emotion about that? And well, with weight loss, you could have many different emotions, but I'll just choose one. Say I have some fear about that. And that fear might be that I've tried it so often. This is hypothetical. I've tried it so often. I don't believe it's really going to work for me. I just don't think it's going to work. So we have that emotion, and then we ask to assess the level of intensity of that emotion. And don't you love these acronyms? This is called a SUDS, the subjective unit of distress, on a scale of 0 to 10. How intense is that fear about going into a weight loss program when you already know it's not going to work? Well, say it's a 7 or 8. It's pretty high. It's not a 10. It might work, but we're not so sure. So we start with what we call the setup on the side of the hand point, which is one of the most powerful acupuncture, meridian junctions there is. And we tap with 2 fingers or sometimes 3, whatever is comfortable for your hand. And we normally tap initially with the dominant hand on the non-dominant hand, but as you tap more, start to trade off so you don't become one-sided. So we tap on this one meridian point with the issue, and we have the suds, and then we ask ourselves about that emotion. Is there some place in your body where you might feel that emotion about that fear? Not everyone has enough feeling within their body, interoception, to be able to say that. But if you do, you might be able to locate it. And I'll just say, oh, there's a feeling in my abdomen. And then we ask, well, is there a quality to that feeling? Is it a burning or a clenching? So I'll say it's a clenching in the abdomen. And then we might ask, and this is for some people very useful, and for others it just doesn't resonate. Is there a color you associate with that? Oh, yes, I see red and black. So the setup would go something like, even though I'm wanting to lose weight, I have a lot of fear this isn't going to work for me because it hasn't in the past. So why should I try? And I feel that fear in my abdomen. It's a clenching, and it's a red. I have a red clenching in my abdomen. And here we come to the acceptance statement. Now, Gary Craig's acceptance statement was, and I completely love and accept myself. And isn't that beautiful? And don't we wish that were true for all of us? For some of us, I'm working on accepting myself, and that's fine. And I accept my emotions at this time. And I'm a good person. So whatever you feel, you can say that's true for yourself. And if it's I completely love and accept myself, or you're striving for that, that's great. So the closing of the setup is, and I completely love and accept myself, or whatever. And we do that 3 times. We repeat that setup 3 times. And then we go into the reminder points, which are those points we just reviewed. And we take snippets of the setup or from whatever dialogue preceded that conversation. So it might be something like that clenching in my stomach. I want to lose weight, but I just don't think I can. That red feeling in my stomach. I can't lose weight. I've tried before. All that fear in my stomach, that red fear in my stomach. I don't think I can do it. I'm not sure I can tap and do that. But I want to, and I have that fear in my stomach. And then we pause and we say, where is that SUDS, that subjective unit? Where is that emotion now after we've done a round? It's a hypothetical round. And sometimes the emotion will go up because the number will go up because we're starting to stir up those emotions. And ideally, then we keep tapping and it goes down. And we say, if anything below a 2 is good, if you can get it to a 0, that's absolutely great. So on subsequent rounds, it would be this remaining fear. And sometimes the emotion will shift. The places in the body will shift. And that's fine. We just follow that along. So some people ask, why do you tap on the negative? Why don't you just affirm what's positive? And it's because with any affirmation we might have, and affirmations are wonderful, and there's a lot of science that they do work. But for any affirmation, for example, I feel 100% able to embrace health and self-care. Is there what we in EFT call a tail ender, or yes, but? I feel 100% able to embrace my health and self-care, but I don't like to exercise. Or I feel 100% able to embrace self-care, but I don't have time. So we pick up that negative issue and resolve that so that there's nothing pulling us back from actually reprogramming things and resolving the problem. So we go step by step through and we create the reminder points and tap them through all the way through the points and reassess. And then we have a place where we can come to a pause and know whether there's further work or we're at a resolution. So what do we know about the science behind EFT? Well, actually a whole lot now. There are many studies, but I won't burden you with a lot of them. Essentially, EFT, we know, works on the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, and specifically the sympathetic nervous system. And what it does is it calms the nervous system. And we also know that it works with the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. And we see in MRIs that after tapping, the amygdala is less active. We also know that it affects the brain in terms of memory, because while we don't change a memory, we can change the feelings about the memory. So that being said about the biology, we have some just amazing research done by a lot of it, by Dr. Peter Stapleton in Australia, who is the Australian Psychologist of the Year, and it's just an amazing number of studies. And she tells us that cortisol is reduced by 43%, happiness, I love this one, up 31%, PTSD can come down as much as 63%. So we know there's a lot of efficacy in this. We know it really works. And we know that it's something that can be used as a people's tool as well as a deep therapeutic tool. So When Carol and I discussed what we would like to demonstrate here for you, we thought across the world, what is the one issue that seems to come up over and over again for people? It's about self-worth. I'm not good enough. Am I good enough? We see this in India. We see this in South America. We see this in Egypt, around the world, excuse me. We have that issue of, for whatever reason, across cultures, unless it's indigenous, is, am I good enough? So Carolyn is now going to share with us a demonstration of EFT using the concept of self-worth. Unless
Thank
there are
you
any,
for that.
I'm sorry, I was forgot I was supposed to pause and ask if there are any questions.
Yep, there are, and I'm going to go in here. So Anna has said, this is one of the most powerful techniques I have ever experienced. Leah said, powerful process. EFT works to calm the nervous system. The amygdala is less active. Anna said, is this to be used as a proactive practice or during a break or trigger? And Bonnie, I would love for you to answer that one, please. Is this to be used as a proactive practice?
I think you can use it in either way. There's something, an advanced component of EFT called matrix reimprinting, where we actually future imprint. So I would call that a very proactive process. And proactive in the sense of if we're going into something where we anticipate that we might have issues, we can tap down those issues. Even where we don't anticipate we're going to have issues, sometimes something like going into surgery, we can use EFT tapping to build up vitality, to dispel any fears. So I would say it's both proactive and then in response to issues that surface. The numbers right, cortisol definitely down 32%, happiness up 31%. Weight loss is 1 pound per week and 2 pounds per month when tapped on over a year with no other changes, no nutritional or exercise changes. PTSD has been shown to be reduced by 63% in the work with veterans. And when I worked with the Wounded Warrior Project, I saw numbers. I didn't keep numbers, but I saw results sometimes even higher than that.
Great. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Okay, we're going to step into self-worth and now I have a tapping already prepared, but if anybody has something that they want to add to the chat, that they want to include in this process of tapping around self-worth, because I know we all have challenges. I think it is one of the biggest mental health challenge, and I also think being able to accomplish our goals. You know, am I good enough? Am I trying hard enough? Those are, things that I have seen clients around getting, because it does, as Bonnie said, it boils down to self-worth. So unless somebody has something, we are just going to dive into what I was guided to put in here. Oh, even trying. I am. Yep. Yes. I'm going to add that right here. Thank you for that, Jackie. Okay, so this particular tapping script, I am going to do it in 3 sections because it's more generic. We're doing it for the good of everybody. So it's not going to be as specific as when Bonnie was talking about when you would be talking, you would be pulling out, you'd get a color, all of that stuff. It's just going to be some basics. So we will do a setup. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I will tap first and I'm going to ask you to repeat it back to me. And then I'm going to do the next statement or setup, depending on what point it is. And you are going to say it again. There is power in the spoken word. So even though you're not on camera and everybody's in their own rooms and their mics are off, say the words out loud so that you can feel the resonance in your body as you are going through this process. And then I'm going to do kind of an acknowledge the feelings round of tapping. I'm going to do a open to change round of tapping, and then finish with positive affirmations. So that is what we are going to do here. What I would love to do to start out with, and you can write this down, you can share it in the chat if it makes, if you're comfortable with doing that, is do that measurement. So take a few deep breaths and rate your current sense of self-worth from 0, very low, to 10, very high. And maybe you've got a project coming up that you've got some self-worth issues around. So it might not be self-worth in general. It might be around a specific topic. But just put your number out there, write it down on your piece of paper, or put it in the chat, because I'd love to see people gauging how they have moved. So Jackie, 3, awesome. Let's see if we can get that number moving here. And we got a 5, a big public speaking coming up. Fabulous. Okay, so here we go. So we are going to start on the side. So this is my left hand. I'm not sure what it looks like to you, but right hand, I'm tapping here. And just repeat back in your own public or private space there. Taking a deep breath, you have got your number in there. Even though I don't always feel worthy, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I doubt my value sometimes, I choose to honor myself anyway. Even though I've been hard on myself, I am open to the possibility that I am enough. And now we are going to step into the acknowledgement of the feelings. I don't always feel good enough. Sometimes I feel like I'm not worthy. Maybe I believe I need to be perfect to be loved. I judge myself so harshly. Am I even trying? I've carried this doubt for a long time. I don't always see my own value. It's hard to love myself sometimes. What if I could release some of that now? Now I invite you to just rank yourself again on your self-worth. In some cases, the number might go in the wrong direction. It may drop a little bit because we have tapped on the negative, as Bonnnie said before. And I'll review all of those numbers when we're finished. But just type them in so we can gauge where you are. And now going to the next one, stepping into possibility. What if I could see myself differently? Oops. I am open to the idea that I am enough. Maybe I've been worthy all along. Even if I've made mistakes, I still deserve love. I'm allowed to be imperfect and valuable. I choose to be kind to myself. I am learning to accept who I am. I am open to feeling worthy. Now let's do that check-in again. Again, the numbers may go up, they may go down, but just see how you're moving. Are you moving down the scale or up the scale? Feels better. Good, Anna. I'm glad to see that. Jeanette, definitely up. Jackie, all right. Precision. Good girl. Got to be a numbers person. And Jill, definitely up. That is fabulous. So what we would do is we would continue those rounds, refining things to really get you in a good position. As Bonnnie mentioned, we want to get you, in this, we're kind of doing it opposite. 10 is high, but if we're trying to release something, we would be going towards the lower numbers, trying to get you to around a 2. But to close out here, we're going to do positive affirmations. I am worthy of love and respect. I deeply value who I am. I am allowed to take up space. I appreciate myself more each day. I am doing enough just as I am. I love and accept myself completely. I trust in my worth. I know I matter. I like to put my hands over my heart and just take a deep breath and say, I am worthy. I am enough. I choose to believe in myself. And then when that feels complete, rank your self-worth again. Notice any changes. And wow, that feels so good. Great. I feel uplifted and joyful. That is fabulous, Anna. And would love to hear from other people too, to see, what was the variation for you? Did it go up more than a couple of points? I'm going to go back in and take a look at some of our other comments here. Leah said, I love that round and felt tingling energy. Definitely up. Jeanette, up, up, up. And Leah, I love choosing to feel worthy. That's beautiful. Great. And Jill, very calming. Oh, that is so good to hear. And as people are putting their comments in there, we thought that it would be interesting for Bonnnie and I to each give a very brief case study or story about how we used EFT in practice and a benefit that came to a client. So Bonnnie, we are kind of on the edge of time here. So how about if we each do a 1-minute explanation?
I'll keep it short. We did think that storytelling is an important part of understanding and learning. So I'll tell you about my client who was afraid of flying. This is a young executive who was climbing up the ranks in Fortune 500 company, and he moved into a managerial position, and he was having to fly. And this was a fellow who was so terrified of flying. He was a 4-martini flyer. And he started to have flights where he had to fly out of the East Coast and arrive in the Midwest in Chicago for breakfast. And he could not very well arrive there inebriated. So he came to me in a condition of extreme distress. And we were able to first generally tap on being afraid. And then we started to unwind the onion of what was beneath that. And I'll just quickly say that when he was a very young boy, his father, who was very authoritarian, very loving, but very authoritarian, was watching the TV with the whole family, and they watched a plane crash. And his mother was sobbing, and his father said, though he's in the Army, his father was in the Army, did not think well of the Air Force or the Navy, and said, those planes will always fall out of the air. And he never forgot that. It became a limiting belief. Wasn't actually a full trauma, although the emotions of his mother were driving that. And once we resolved that issue, that limiting belief, that incident in his life, next flight, he was able to get right on the flight. I wanted to go to the airport with him, but that's the ultimate test with EFT is not the SUDS, but actually doing it in life. And he was able to do it and continuing on to do it. And so that's one of my favorite stories is the 4-martini flight that went down to 0 in confidence. You can use it for anything.
I love that story. That is so powerful. And mine is also more measurable in the delivery and in the real life outcome. I was working with a woman who actually had come to stay with me. She was a friend, or more like a business associate. Anyway, she came to my house, and I have 2 cats. And she was sneezing, and she was rubbing her eyes, and she was, just really experiencing severe allergy symptoms. And she said that she's been allergic to cats since she was a small child. And I just said, well, EFT will fix that. And so we started in and did some rounds of tapping around what was the root cause of her allergy to cats. And we just spent a lot of time on when did it happen and tapping about the negative about when it happened. And she remembered something that she had forgotten. She had a beloved cat when she was about 3 or 4 years old that unexpectedly was killed. And it created an emotional response in her body that it's not safe to love cats. It's not safe to be around cats. And in general, cats weren't safe. And as we through that, she released a lot by crying. There was a few hiccups along the way. And as we moved through that, she realized that she didn't feel any of those feelings around the cat anymore. And she went to a shelter to see how things could work with her being around cats. No symptoms. And the last I heard, she's a cat mama now. So it really is profound. It has so many beautiful ways and applications. It's really just up to our imagination and testing along the way, doing that initial check-in. So you've got something to verify against. So thank you for that. So to close, Bonnnie was going to go ahead and just do a short round of what we did with the tap and breathe for just a couple of minutes before we close out. But if anybody Bonnnie, before you do that, let me go in and check some of these comments here. Jeanette said, I love the place to hear hands on your heart in those affirmations. Much, Jeanette. And Anna, would you share this script with us? I'd love to modify it. Oh, I would be happy to do that. Irene, feeling good self-worth has been a struggle for me most of my life. It's good for me to remind myself that I have worth in this world. Thank you for this. You are so welcome. And Anna asked, are you both facilitating any more sessions like this? This was so helpful. No, but I am a generator, so I take that as an invitation. And I'm sure Bonnnie has things too, so that's great. We've got a wow from Nicole, a yeeks from Anna, and that's amazing, Bonnnie. She loved your story on the flying. Jeanette said, great outcome. Nicole, I love EFT. I'm super listening here. That is awesome. And Anna says, for allergies too, I'm learning so much. Yeah, allergies, definitely. And allergies, fears, emotions, self-worth, like we've talked about. It's great. Resistance, EFT is fabulous, I think, for resistance to anything. Leah said, great stories. Anna said, amazing. Jeanette, that's a remarkable story. And Nicole, I may need to do EFT. I've tried over energy methods. I wonder how I can love pollen and dust because I refuse to think I'm subjected to allergies for life. Yeah, it's retraining and it's releasing whatever that reaction is that we're carrying in our body. And Jackie says, that's incredible. Wish I could lose my allergies fumes. Sometimes you do need the support of a professional in order to get down deeper in that. That's one of the things with this person that I was working with, is that she had tried for years she was a very talented energy worker, and it was just something that she couldn't do on her own. And Anna says, thank you so much. That was amazing. And Nicole, haha, love that. Jill, so interesting about the cat allergy. Yeah. Yes, other energy methods. So here we go. So Bonnnie, I go ahead and do our repeat here to show just a slightly different version of the tap and breathe.
Yes, here to close the EFT portion of this. We don't always need to tap as in moving our hands. We can sometimes just use pressure. And that can be almost more relaxing depending on the situation. And so we're going to close our tap and breathing by just holding the points and breathing. So get yourself comfortable. We won't spend a long time on this, but just get yourself comfortable, ground your sit bones, find your verticality, establish that you're breathing through your nose and out through your mouth. And let's just start with the inner eye. And breathe in. And a long exhalation. And outer eye. In. And a nice long exhalation. And under eye. A lot of energy's moving today. Let them all out. Nice long exhalation. Under nose. Breathe in. Long exhalation. Chin point. Collarbone point. And let that exhalation allow all your muscles to relax. And the underarm hug. And feel that as a hug now as we close. I'm talking about self-worth. Safe in that space. And I'm going to add another point here. This is an optional point, the wrist point, the vagus nerve. And breathe in. And a nice slow exhalation. And without movement on the top of the head, breathe in and let it all out. And just continue that breath pattern of letting it all out and shake yourselves out. Give yourself a little wiggle if you need it. And thank yourself for experiencing some EFT this afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
That is beautiful. And Nicole said that I appreciate that holding the point is just as effective. It is, especially if anybody has had any kind of physical abuse. The tapping can trick the whole points. It is a good way to release and move the energy without triggering a response. Definitely a hug, and Nicole says thank you. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, for learning about the power of EFT. This concludes our 2025 Mental Health Awareness event. Please give yourself love and grace as you continue your wellness journey. Please continue to spread this resource and event. Let's continue to support those who need resources for their best mental health. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health issues, it is important to seek help. Mental Health Awareness Month serves as a reminder to take care of your mental health and to seek help when needed. The link to a list of mental health resources is in the chat. Today's replays are available via the link chat. Once again, thank you for attending today's session and for supporting our mental health awareness event. A portion of the proceeds supports a nationally recognized mental health organization and the Wellness Universe. This session is donation-based, and we're grateful for your pay what you can donation via the link in the chat. We hope that we have given you a 5-star experience today. Please be sure to leave a rating and a review when you see the pop-up. Thank you so much for joining us.